Welcome to Legacy Engineered, the show where smart structure meets lasting success. Join Scott Arden, Chairman and CEO of Controllers Limited, as he sits down with business leaders, top entrepreneurs, and experts to uncover the strategies, stories, and structures that build lasting legacies. And now, here's your host, Scott Arden.
Welcome back to Legacy Engineered. I'm your host, Scott Arden. Today's guest is Cameron Nish, Director of Business Intelligence at Apex Trader Funding, one of the largest funded trader platforms in the world. Cameron has spent more than a decade helping build systems, teams, and educational programs that have helped traders and entrepreneurs pursue financial independence through the markets. What makes Cameron's story especially interesting is that he sits at the intersection of operations, technology, education, and wealth creation. He's had a front row seat to seeing what separates those who build lasting success from those who struggle to sustain it. Today, we're talking about risk, discipline, entrepreneurship, financial education, and ultimately what it takes to create a legacy that lasts. Cameron, welcome to Legacy Engineered.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we've been having a little bit of fun here today, right?
We have. This has been a good day.
Absolutely. So I got to ask you, most people see the success of Apex today, but what did the early days look like? And what were some of the biggest challenges in building it?
Sure. So I started with Apex Trader Funding about 6 months after it originally came online.
Oh.
But I know the story and was keeping track of things along the way. And to say it was a little bit chaotic would be an understatement, but we got through it.
Nice.
And a lot of people pitching in, doing whatever they needed to do. And finally it stabilized a little bit.
There you go. Well, most businesses start out a little bit chaotic, don't they? I mean, it's kind of a new venture. It's uncharted territory, for the principals, if you will. So I would imagine, it could be chaotic, especially when you're building something that, Apex is now.
Yes.
So, so you've worked with thousands of traders over the years. What habits consistently separate successful traders from those who never quite make it?
Oh, there's for sure two. The first one is risk management. That people go into trades trading way too many lots. We trade futures, mm-hmm. and they trade way too many lots of things. They want to, hit a home run every time, and that is just not the way it works. And then the other one is self-control, emotional control.
Yeah.
And when you lose a trade, and it doesn't really seem to matter how big or small the trade is. If you're a little guy just starting out and you lose $20, that'll affect you just as much as if you're experienced and you lost like $20,000.
Right.
Now, $20,000 is a little harder to swallow for anybody.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's keeping that self-control so that you can move on to the next trade and work your magic there.
Right. I mean, I've heard a lot about that is, that you lose it, so you try even harder to try and get it back, which creates a worse situation,
yes,
right?
Yes, revenge trading.
Revenge trading. I knew that there was a term for it. So
yes, sir. And it happens a lot.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, people are people, right?
Yes.
You're like, no, I can't lose like that. I got to make it up, and then yeah. So 100% the revenge trading.
Yes.
So trading is really a study of risk management. How has your understanding of risk influenced the way you approach business and life?
That's an interesting question. So one of the things that you learn as you start to pick up how to manage your trades and the risk in that is you learn to separate probability from possibility.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a key factor, whether you're evaluating risk in a business or in a deal or trading or whatever, because everybody wants it always to be the golden road, right?
Right.
And, everything's going to go right. But that that may look like it is, but if it only has a probability of 20% or something of succeeding, maybe that's not such a good thing to pursue.
Absolutely.
So the profitability versus probability is huge.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I kind of see that happen all the time.
Yeah, you get a good deal put in front of you, right? And you think, oh, this is just going to be great.
Right.
And then you start looking around and find out that maybe the house hasn't had any repairs for 100 years. There may be other things that you need to look at, and the probability of the deal being good goes down.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about building wealth through trading?
Oh, they think they're going to go in and just place the trade and it's going to work out for them. That is the hugest misconception there is. Trading is like anything else. In fact, I've used this example in some presentations and things. And the example is if you were going to get on an airplane, even if it was just a little airplane, and you're going to have your buddy Joe come and pilot for you. Never had any pilot's lessons, but he's sure that he can get in there and fly the plane.
Yeah.
No problem. Are you going to go with Joe?
No. I mean, the takeoff might be okay, but if it'd be the landing, I'd be more concerned about.
The landing and the running into things, all of that for sure. And people think trading is, they see good trades and stuff on YouTube or social media, or maybe even have some friends or family that do it. And they think, oh, this is a piece of cake. I can do this. And they don't ever think about getting education or like learning like what's happening behind the scenes in the market and stuff to make things move and all of that. And what they're really doing is gambling.
Right.
And that's a terrible way to approach this. Get some education. There's tons of educators out there. There's more than one way to skin a cat, so to speak. Just find somebody that you like and listen to their method and then practice it.
Yeah.
You don't go out and just, one lesson and I'm done. Sure. And it's kind of like the Ferris Bueller thing. Like not one lesson, and he's out there playing the saxophone or whatever.
Right. So, I mean, that education, is that something that you help clients with? Or, I mean, how...
Yeah.
You obviously have experienced traders, but then the person just starting out, I mean, where would they go for that kind of education?
Yeah, so there are a lot of companies that can help with that. We do have Apex Investing, which teaches a system to trade with. We are not the only ones. There's a lot of other YouTube influencers or people that have classes and education that will take you through. They'll have live trade rooms where they can review trades or help show you where something is forming that looks like it may be a good trade for that. But they teach you and you learn how to do this instead of just placing the buy or sell. Anybody can press the buy and sell button, but did you know why you're pressing the buy and sell button?
That makes sense. See, that's one thing, I invest, but I've never done the actual trading myself, so I personally would have to go through that process to understand how to trade futures, what the candles look like, what they mean. It just it doesn't, and from my investing standpoint, I like something that I could physically touch and see, and
Sure.
But at the same time, diversification, you got to get into some of the the other options that are out there. So
now, just a quick clarification: what we do is day trading. This is not long-term investing. We're looking to make profit off of short-term moves in the market, and this type of thing is not for everybody. And that's another thing, that people think it is for everybody and that anybody can do it. And then they get into it and they get frustrated because every trade they put on doesn't work, and then they start the revenge trading
Right.
to make it back, and then it's no good, and they're using their own money to do that. And that's where a company like Apex Trader Funding comes in, is that we set you up with accounts that you're not using your own money in, and that you can have a chance to get used to the markets and make a profit and stuff without losing your savings or
Right.
college education or anything.
Gotcha. So you've spent years educating traders. Why do you think financial literacy is such a missing piece for so many people?
Oh, for one thing, it's rarely taught in our grade schools, high schools, even colleges. I had the opportunity to work with some colleges for a little while, and not we reviewed like their master programs and things like that, and not one of them taught like financial literacy, like taxes. Like here's uh, things that you can deduct, either as an individual or a business, non-existent. You get a raise. What do you do with that money? Do you go out and buy a new car with it, or do you maybe think about some other things?
Right.
None of that. There is a huge gap there, and it will literally change your life being financially literate.
Right. Well, and that's one of the biggest things that, why it's my passion to teach other people how to accumulate and build wealth and create a legacy. Is I've built a legacy for my son and my granddaughter, So for nearly 30 years I've been doing this. It excites me to see people's eyes light up and go and have that aha moment of, you can really do that? Yeah, absolutely. It's the other side, the other part of the world, or the universe that most people aren't exposed to right out of college or out of school.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we've actually talked about creating financial, not necessarily Apex Trader Funding, but about creating financial literacy. And I mean, it's even very basic stuff like, and this will sound weird these days, but how to balance a checkbook.
Yeah, something that they used to teach in school, but they've taken away.
Yes, or how to do a budget, and a budget that you can stick to,
right,
and know where your money's going, because that is one of the biggest things that we see for people who are creating wealth and going, and people that aren't.
Right.
Is that they know how to balance their checkbook, create budgets, know where their money's going, and just keep track of it all the time.
Right, right. Well, and you said, when you get the raise, because most people make spend, right?
Yes.
And so, when you get that raise, well, that was money you didn't have prior, right? So instead of going into that make spend scenario, why not put it into starting a business, getting into investing, that's going to make money. It's going to compound on itself to, set yourself up for the future, rather than, oh, well, I can afford a $250 more a month car payment, right? Because the car's not making you money. Whereas taking that extra and putting it into something that's going to make money for you, that is, that's the real financial literacy that most people, aren't exposed to.
Yeah. We want to buy assets.
Correct. Correct.
A cash flowing or appreciating asset.
Correct. Or sometimes cash flowing with an offered depreciation to offset taxes in other areas.
Absolutely. and people just don't know how to do that.
This is true. So in your experience, what's the difference between creating income and creating long-term wealth?
Sure. So anybody can create income. Even somebody begging out on the street is creating some type of income.
Absolutely.
Right. Even your job you had in college, you're creating income, and all of those things. Even today, your job. Anybody can do that, and it doesn't take much. You think about the the young man or lady that lives next to you that's maybe out mowing lawns or something, and they have a little bit of hustle and go get a few lawns to mow, and now all of a sudden they're getting a little bit of cash in. Anybody can make money. You may not make $1 million
Right.
or $2 million or whatever, but you can make some money. The longer side of that, creating wealth and being able to like pass that along and do those type of things, that's where people get stuck. And making the switch from just living paycheck to paycheck or having a little bit of money and actually building something that you can pass on or that is accumulating faster than what you can spend, or being able to take that into retirement and have something that continues to produce income for you, even though maybe you're not working. Those are the keys. That's where you want to be.
Absolutely. I love that answer. Love that answer. So, as someone involved in scaling a large operation or organization, what leadership lessons have had the biggest impact on you personally?
First one is easy. Communication. Sometimes within our organization, we don't communicate very well.
Right.
And it causes more problems and issues than anything. There's got to be a good communication mechanism from the very top to the very bottom.
Right.
If any piece of that is broke, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, definitely communication, and that's been the biggest one. We've had fairly good opportunity to make decisions and things, and talk to other leaders and things to make sure we're doing what is good for the business and that. But again, if we don't know as managers and directors and vice presidents and that what the business or the direction that the business needs to or wants to go, then we can make some really bad decisions.
Right.
And
Well, I think that would also affect kind of the culture in the company too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. When everybody's running around and don't know what's expected or where we're going, it's like a rudderless ship.
Yeah. It's kind of going free floating wherever.
Yeah, you might get there, you might not.
Exactly. So we talk a lot about legacy on this show. When you think about legacy, what comes to mind beyond money?
Well, there's a lot of things, right? So a lot of people may think that it's a library named after them, or a building on a college campus, or in some city or whatever. And those things are great. And if you can get to that level and do those things, then great.
Mm-hmm.
And that, for me personally, my legacy, I hope, is that my kids are okay. Is that when I leave, that I have been able to give them enough to move forward with, and to make their own way, and giving them that financial literacy and helping them get over some of the stumbling blocks that you have in creating a business or being a business owner or anything like that. It's interesting. We were walking in a cathedral over in London, and sometimes they would bury people like in the cathedrals and stuff. And there was this one headstone, and it said something to the effect that the only thing that I wish to leave to this world is that I was a good father. And that, I think, is pretty profound. At least for me it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I that's kind of the same thing as, an inheritance is what you leave somebody or leave someone, but a legacy is what you leave in someone, right? What you actually impart on them.
Love that.
Right.
Yeah. If you can help your family or others and move them along, help them further down their path, and not create stumbling blocks for them, but actually help them. That's the best way to leave a legacy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if a young entrepreneur or trader came to you today with ambition, but very little experience, what advice would you give them?
Maybe first ask if they have considered another
Another avenue?
Yeah, another avenue. No, not to discourage them, but as we've talked about, you just don't like start trading.
Right.
You need to get the education, the experience. There's a lot of ways to build experience quickly, but you still have to do it. You have to go through those things. And so the first thing I would ask of them is, are they willing to make the time commitment to learn how to do this? Because it is not a day or two or a week. You're probably looking at least the fastest people that I have seen like really understand things, 3 to 4 months.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that may sound like a long time, but you're investing in your education. You're making it so that you understand how things work. And it's just like getting a college education, right? Is that you don't go to college for 1 or 2 days,
right,
and they give you a degree. That's not the way it works.
Right.
So getting education, working on your self-control and all of that for a new trader, those are key, absolutely key things that they need to do.
Absolutely. Great answer. Great answer. Looking back on your career so far, what are you most proud of, and what do you hope people remember about the impact you've had? We kind of talked a little bit about it in the last question, but what does that look like?
Yeah. So, yeah, that my family's still there, that my wife hasn't decided to kick me out, because there was a time in my career where I was gone almost exclusively every week, and she took care of our children and all of that, and she still hasn't changed the locks on her house. So she's still there for me. But yeah, just being able to help people, being able to show them alternatives to things, as opposed to like just go to college, get a job, and that's what you do for the rest of your life. Show them alternative income methods, alternative ways to live. We talk a lot about the corporate lifestyle and stuff like that, and that's easy to talk about, but to actually embrace that and be able to do that, especially to be able to do that, that is a whole different ball game. I remember as we were first learning about these things, and that we had a lot of pieces, right? But it wasn't until fairly recently that it like just all came together at once. It's like, that's what it is.
Yep.
And then you're like, good.
Well, awesome. So, throughout the course of our conversation, you've answered really my final question is, the show is Legacy Engineered. And you've had the career of helping people pursue financial freedom and build wealth. When I always ask, what does the word legacy mean to you? But I think you've pretty well covered that throughout the course of our conversation. So, Cameron, well, thanks so much for joining us today. I think one of the biggest takeaways from this conversation is that lasting success isn't built on shortcuts, right?
No.
Whether we're talking about trading, entrepreneurship, leadership, or family, the common thread is discipline, education, and making intentional decisions over time, right?
Yes.
So we appreciate you sharing your experience, your insights, and the lessons you've learned from helping so many people pursue financial freedom. So to everyone listening, Thank you for joining us for another episode of Legacy Engineered. If today's conversation resonated with you, be sure to subscribe, share this episode with someone who could benefit from it, and leave us a review. Remember, legacy doesn't happen by accident. It's built through the decisions you make today and the impact that those decisions have on the people and generations that follow. Until next time, keep building, keep growing, and keep engineering your legacy.
Thanks for listening to Legacy Engineered. For more episodes and to connect with Scott and the team at Controllers Limited, visit controllersltd.com. You can also follow Scott on Instagram and LinkedIn and start building your legacy with confidence today.